When I think of the European Union, I think of the EU's different countries, and some that aren't members yet, but want to be.
Lots of languages, open borders, more togetherness, better education.
Europe is a really good place to be when you're on vacation. And also, Europe is a very beautiful place. I love Europe really very, very much.
Well, the tourists love Europe. How much affection do the Europeans have for the European Union? We'll find out this weekend when citizens here elect a new European Parliament. Today on Made in Germany, the politics of fighting the Great Recession. We'll go to Sweden, where the economy appears to be greenest. Then to Romania, hit hard by the economic crisis. How are businesses there coping? And the story of protecting the name and reputation of one very special cheese. Well, we begin with the number 20, an almost holy figure here in Europe when you talk about environmental policy and the economy. By the year 2020, the European Union aims to cut CO2 emissions by 20%, increase renewable energy use by 20%, and boost energy efficiency by 20%. An ambitious goal. But in Sweden, they are thinking in higher amounts. In the town of Växjö, half of all energy consumed comes from renewable sources. One reason why the EU crowned Växjö as Europe's greenest city. Well, we wanted to find out if the Swedish model is a model for everyone in the middle of the recession.
Fir trees are one of Sweden's most important resources. Peter von Maske, a German, has been living here for the past 4 years. He and his boss are fetching wood for their company's own sawmill, the same amount as before the global economic crisis, even though sales have decreased.
We're still working as normal. We haven't let any workers go. As a result, the quantities of wood in our storehouses are increasing. We have more wood in stock than we had before.
The autumn of 2008 was one of the worst in the sawmill's history. This family-owned company has been cutting planks and beams for 4 generations. 60% of those go abroad. But sales have dropped by 30% during the past few months. In contrast, another of the company's activities is growing. Wood pellets made of compressed sawdust, which are then sold as fuel. It's a growing market as more and more people in Sweden turn to wood pellets for heating instead of oil, which is twice as expensive. Now the company is thinking about expanding production, investing in new equipment from Germany.
We're considering buying another machine because we have room for one here, and I've just spoken to someone in Germany about it. Or we might expand our packaging facilities so we can pack things more quickly. We're certainly thinking about it.
Peter von Maske lives near Växjö. The town's 80,000 residents produce only a third of the CO2 emissions generated by German towns of the same size. And there's no way the economic crisis will be allowed to change that. The Sandvik biomass power plant is at the core of Växjö's environmental program. Using byproducts from the timber and forestry industries, it produces heating for almost all the area's residents and 60% of the town's electricity. But that's becoming increasingly expensive. Since the region's sawmills have been doing less business, the price for byproducts has risen.
The price increase will say last year between 10 and 15% for the biomass. And that might be that we had to increase the price for the customers for about 7–8%.
You did it already, or you have
No,
to?
we will do.
The NCC construction company can't afford any price rises. At the other end of town, it's building what are known as passive houses, each with 32 apartments, a €9 million investment. None of the ultra-modern apartments need heating. They're all insulated to the highest standards. Still, these energy-efficient homes could be selling better.
The problem is that potential customers can't get financing from the banks. That's the trouble. That means we have a building crisis in Sweden, just like the one in Germany and all over Europe.
Are you feeling the effects in sales?
Yes, absolutely. They've fallen considerably recently.
Peter von Maske bought his house years ago. He doesn't want to return to Germany. He feels at home here in Sweden. He's interested in seeing what happens after Sweden takes over the rotating EU presidency in July.
To be honest, Swedes don't like conflict. They're too nice. We're nice people and like things to be pleasant. So it might be that Swedes won't be as active internationally as we are here at home.
There is certainly one thing the EU can learn from Växjö. The town isn't letting the economic crisis stop its progress towards ending its reliance on gas and oil.
And next month, Sweden will assume the presidency of the European Union with a strong focus on environmental protection. Well, let's pull in Thomas Ilke. He is an environment and EU expert from the German Chambers of Industry and Commerce. Mr. Ilke, thanks for joining us today. What do you think is the best place to live right now? Sweden?
Sweden is a very nice place in Europe, Germany as well. And the good thing about Europe is that we do have 27 membership states.
You know, we want to pick up on this environmental policy. Sweden is aiming to cut CO2 emissions even further than what we have seen so far. And we've got a graphic here. We want to show people about what the EU is calling for. Sweden plans to cut emissions from 5.8 billion tons to 5.1 billion tons, and this goal was set before the recession set in. Now, scientists say emissions levels could fall even more thanks to the recession. Mr. Ilke, what do you think? Let's look beyond Sweden here. Is this recession a chance for Europe, for example, to improve its environmental policy?
Well, Sweden is a good role model for one thing. Sweden has a strategy which is not one-sided. They both have renewables and they have nuclear power. And that's the way we should tackle the problem of climate change. There is no single way to Copenhagen, if you like it that way. We have to rely on different energy sources.
All right, Mr. Ilke, stay with us because we're going to bring you back to talk some more about EU policy here in the show. We'll be back with you in just a second. Well, last week we asked you, do you sense a general economic recovery? Now, Rahul Deshmukh from India was quick to write to us with good news. He says that he has been offered a job and that he starts this week. Congratulations, Rahul. Well, that brings us to our new question of the week. Have you personally benefited from the EU? And if so, how? Well, tell us about it. You can go to our website at dwworld.de/English/Made in Germany. Of course, that's all one word. You can fill out our online questionnaire and you will automatically qualify for our drawing coming up soon. And the prize will be a DVD entitled German Family Business. Well, let's pull Mr. Ilke back in. Mr. Ilke, can people here in Europe say that they have benefited from the EU in this recession?
Oh yes, they did. EU showed itself as ready for action. They talked and decided on stimulus packages, both on EU level and on the national level, and that is a big plus of the EU.
What about all the criticism that the individual countries kind of did their own thing when it came to bailout packages, and the EU only passed, a package worth about 5 billion euros?
Well, is that really surprising? I mean, what you need is legitimation of what you do at home, and you can't decide on big packages in Brussels and then trickle them down at home. You need to have that done on the surface.
Okay. Mr. Joko, stay with us. We're going to join you again in just a couple of minutes. Romania, of course, is a country that has undoubtedly benefited from the European Union. It joined the EU back in 2007, and since then, its market has enjoyed a non-stop influx from investment money and new businesses. But that is no more. The Romanian currency, the lei, has plummeted in value. And the country was only able to avoid bankruptcy thanks to aid from the International Monetary Fund. Well, in the first of our series, Connecting Europe, focusing on the economies of Eastern Europe, our reporters traveled to Bucharest and Pitești to find out what is being done in Romania to soften the brunt of an economic fall.
Jürgen Reich is in charge of one of the most ambitious construction projects in Romania and is under a lot of pressure. A German-Romanian joint venture is investing some 70 million euros here. The new residential area on the outskirts of Bucharest is known as the German Quarter. In recent years, Romania has witnessed a property boom, and the investors were hoping for a piece of the pie. But for the time being, Jürgen Reich hasn't been able to drum up much interest in his 500 new apartments. So far, he's only managed to sell less than a third of them. Is it hard to sell property at the moment?
Right now it's quite hard because the banks aren't giving loans. And for that reason, we have to offer customers a range of different financing options.
The Romanian property market has taken a downward spiral. All of a sudden, the investors are struggling to keep afloat. Numerous construction companies have already gone bankrupt, but Jürgen Reich remains confident his project will be a success. The mood in Bucharest right now is glum. Last year, the economy grew by more than 8%, but now it's in serious difficulties. The Romanian leu has fallen badly against the euro. As a result, consumers have less disposable income. The weak leu is also a cause for concern to German investors in the country. Marco Walder from the German-Romanian Chamber of Commerce and Industry knows German investors would welcome more financial stability.
Unlike Bulgaria, our currency doesn't have a fixed rate of exchange against the euro. As a result, we have currency fluctuations. They've been very extreme recently, sometimes fluctuations of 20 to 25%. And they can pose a serious risk.
Currency fluctuations are just one of the many problems worrying the German investors in Romania. Today, Marco Walder is heading out to Pitești to visit a branch of Drexelmeier. The car parts manufacturer has 5 factories in Romania.
Is road travel a problem in Romania? Are the roads bad? Are they problematic for vehicles?
Logistics aren't the problem. Empty order books are. Production is down by 30%. Drexelmeier makes electronic equipment for clients including Mercedes, BMW and Volkswagen. The company is having to tighten its belt in response to the sales crisis. Drexelmeier recently let go of more than 3,000 of its 17,000 employees in Romania.
Just under 2 years ago, we opened a new factory in Serbia because we were having trouble hiring staff in Romania due to full employment there. Now we have the opposite situation. We've never seen anything like it.
The German company says the Romanian state doesn't provide state subsidies for employees working reduced hours. It could be forced to lay off more staff in the future.
What does the future hold? I can only hope it doesn't happen to me and that there are no more widespread layoffs.
Schönen guten Tag. Yeah, nice to meet you. I think we met 1 year before.
But for Marco Walder, there is also reason for optimism. A German spice manufacturer is opening a new logistics centre.
It's a good region. Yeah, for investment, for distribution, for...
Investments total some 10 million euros and some 3,000 new jobs will be created. So despite the overall gloom, Romania's prospects are not altogether bleak, and investors there hope the worst is already over.
Well, let's pull in Thomas Ilke again. He's from the German Chambers of Industry and Commerce. Mr. Ilke, what are businesses telling you now that they need most to preserve investments in Eastern Europe?
What we need most right now is to get out of the crisis. And we have a brand new survey which shows that those enterprises who are already in, for example, Romania, want to stay there. What they tackle with, or what they need to tackle with, is corruption and is red tape. These are the two most concerns we are reported.
What do you think the European Union should do right now to battle corruption? Because that is what a lot of people say is a business killer, isn't it?
Yes, but that is a long-term investment which is needed. This has nothing to do with the crisis, and you have to tackle that long-term.
Would the introduction of the euro in Eastern Europe, would that make the situation better?
Yes, of course, because if you are within the Eurozone, you have much more stability in your own economy.
There are some critics who say that EU subsidies are supporting businesses in Eastern Europe that without that support would not be able to survive against the competition. What do you say to that?
Well, subsidizing new members is part of the business, and it's very close talked about that, so there are always two sides on this equation.
All right, Mr. Ilke, thanks very much for talking with us. Well, there are 27 members of the European Union, and that means a lot of opinions about which direction Europe should be headed in. But we went shopping to hear what Europeans think.
I can't tell you what's from the EU, but it doesn't matter to me. I buy what I need. This is stuff I forgot to buy yesterday.
I bought these tomatoes. They're from France, as far as I know. I can tell you why I bought them, because there weren't any German ones.
This is French apple cider from Normandy. I buy it here because I consider it the best you can buy.
If we had nothing but German produce, right now we'd be eating just a few shriveled apples and the first strawberries. That's how it is. Of course we've gone global.
Well, since we're talking about food, did you hear about the banana farce here in Europe? The European Union came under fire for setting norms on the dimensions of bananas sold here. The EU even dictated how much of a curve a banana can have. Well, that regulation has been rescinded, but it highlights the cries of those who claim that the EU is too heavy when it comes to standardization. Well, in cooperation with the Handelsblatt, we present you the story of a cheese that has fought and won its right to remain unique. And we let our nose take us to the Allgäuer region of southern Germany.
These cows graze only on grass of the Allgäuer mountains in southern Germany. Their milk is used to make a cheese produced under European Union regulations for traditional regional products. Every summer, Eva and Hans Endres drive their cattle up to the alpine pastures. The Endres family has tended their herd here for 7 generations.
The higher the pastures, the better the herbs and the grasses and clover. The higher quality fodder results in better milk.
The cows arrive punctually at 5:30 in the morning for milking. The milk quality also depends on strict hygiene standards, which are also regulated by the EU. The family's eldest son will take over the dairy farm someday. The herd of 19 cows produce 400 liters of alpine milk every day. The fresh milk will be used to make cheese.
It's the same every day, all summer long. For about 6 months, we do the same work, making the cheese.
Every day, the cheese is brought down into the cellar. Here, the cheese is drenched with salt water by hand. The salt water creates the rind.
Each mountain lends its special flavor to the cheese. That's what makes it special. The taste depends on the alpine pasture. This one here is especially aromatic.
Eva Endres uses traditional methods to produce the cheese. She uses enzymes to thicken the milk. Then the Allgäu cheese is heated to 32 degrees Celsius. Cheesemaking is as much an art as a science.
It's very labor-intensive, and it is a financial challenge. Tourists tend to think it's an idyllic and unpressured life here, but actually it's a hard struggle to survive. After we produce 6 tons of cheese, we also have to make sure we can sell it all.
Beautiful surroundings alone don't guarantee a livelihood. 11 dairy farmers deliver their milk directly to the cooperative in the valley. Cheesemaker Frank Kieper is here every morning and evening to receive the milk. "3,200 liters of milk each day is enough to make 16 wheels of Allgäu cheese. The labor-intensive methods mean that the cheesemakers must fetch a good price to survive. The cheese from the Allgäu Mountains was awarded the prestigious European Protected Designation of Origin seal 12 years ago.
The quality seal is monitored very carefully. An inspector comes out once or twice a year. It's all done to make sure the cheese is actually produced here in the Allgäu. After all, it is an Allgäu mountain cheese and not an ordinary mountain cheese, which could be produced anywhere in Europe.
The cheese is a favorite among locals, tourists, and wholesalers. The special seal certifies that the cheese is the true product and not an inexpensive imitation. The high-quality cheese costs 12 euros per kilo. A local dairy association also maintains quality standards, working to improve traditional production methods. For example, with a special feed made of fresh pasture grass.
Das ist also eine Heu vom letzten Jahr. Sehr gut, jawohl. Das ist jetzt also ein Jahr alt, kann man sagen, letzte Ernte, 2008.
The protected designation of origin label has helped to preserve 600 jobs in the region.
The entire process only makes sense if the cheesemaker benefits from it in some way, for example, by getting a better price from the wholesaler. The wholesaler, in turn, also gets a better price for a product with the special origin label.
Back at the Endres family's dairy farm, the milk curd is ready to be poured into the molds. Without the quality label and stable prices, the Endres family could not afford to make cheese using these traditional methods.
The quality seal allows us to make a profit with the Allgäu cheese, and that's what allows us to keep going. It's crucial for the Allgäu region and for tourism. The tourists know that the Alpine dairy region is the place to go for cheese, and that's what makes the Allgäu so appealing.
There are many imitations, but a true Allgäu mountain cheese only comes from the milk from real Allgäu dairy cows.
Well, out of the mountains. If you'd like more information on what you've seen today, you can click on handelsblatt.com. That's the website of Germany's leading financial daily, or you can go to our very own website. That's dwworld.de. Well, finally, some wishes from Europeans as they prepare to elect a new European Parliament.
I now live in Switzerland. I'd like Switzerland to be better integrated with the EU.
At school, we used to learn that some countries were enemies and some not. Now we have freedom. We're just back from cycling in the Czech Republic and Poland. You just travel from one country to the next. The borders are open. It's great. I think the EU should expand and that people should communicate with each other.
Would you like to learn a foreign language?
Yes, English.
Me too. English.
Me too.
French.
English.
Why do you want to learn so many languages?
Because it's fun.
Because English is the main language.
Me too, because it's the main language.
I think so too.
Well, kids know best. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.